Alright, so now I gotta get this water pump seal out. Alright, so that's what the seal looks like. And that yellow and black there is soft. So, let me get two hands before I fucking stab myself.
Hey, look at that. I scraped the goo away and there's a notch right there. So all you gotta do is stick a screwdriver in there and pop it out. I'm not able to get that out from there, so I'm trying to pry around the edge gently and not fuck this up. I'm trying to get it out of here. Maybe I can get my hook to fit in there and pop it out.
Man, I could not get that bitch out of there. I had to hammer through it. Hammer on it lightly for a while until I got the screwdriver to punch through. I didn't want it to punch through too fast and fucking nick any of that shit. So I had to punch the screwdriver through the flathead so I could pry it out. And then I could only pry it out just a little bit because the screwdriver's hitting the throttle body. So I had to stick my pick in there after that and pry it out. That was a pain in the ass. I hope there's an easier way. Jesus. After I pried the shit out there, I just couldn't get it out. That notch didn't really help. It just gave me a slot to hammer the fucking screwdriver through so I could pry the bitch out of there. It's the only way I could get it out. Alright, so how about we start with the water pump seal, since that one's the most difficult and that's what everybody fucks up. So there's a certain method to this where you're actually supposed to get a special tool from GM to install it, and it basically helps it slip over this drive spline here without turning the gasket inside out or tearing it, because if that happens, it leaks oil everywhere. A lot of people don't know that and they just put it on and then it leaks. So you do all this shit and then you got oil going everywhere. So you're supposed to use a special tool from GM. It's like, fuck, I don't know, around $100 or more. People improvise using Sharpie caps, and I'm going to try a different method where we use a socket. Okay, let me explain this to you in full detail. So this little bitch pops in there, and your soft pieces in the middle there, the rubber, and this yellow is actually a type of paper. It's got to slide over this. So the problem is, if you just stick this on there, even as careful as possible, when you go to hammer it down, as it slides over this here, it gets caught on this lip. The lip's really sharp. And basically, it tears that. And I don't think it's so much the rubber as it is the paper, but the other problem is, see how this rubber's shaped? That's bigger around than the rubber. So it pushes the rubber inside out, and so it doesn't seal. So if you push the rubber inside out when it goes over that, it won't seal and it'll leak oil. If you tear this paper when it goes over, it won't seal and it'll leak oil. The most common method is to use a Sharpie cap. Apparently, it's like just the perfect size to where it mates up with this completely flush. And you can slide this along the Sharpie cap right over that, which I may have to do. And I've seen another method, is not as common, is to use a socket. And really you want one that steps up like this. So basically you would put it on like this, force it over that, okay, and then it would open it up wide enough to where you can get it on that. Sorry, I lied. You don't want the step up. The step up was to ease it in a little bit. If you had one where it was just a little bit bigger, you could work it over it a few times to try and get this loose and malleable. That way it would be less likely to get caught on the edge and tear and whatnot. But you need a 12 point because that's a 12 point or whatever. The 6-point ain't gonna work. And once you have your fucking seal around it, you basically put it on like that. And this works the same way the Sharpie cap method does. And you slide it over, and the idea is that it doesn't get caught on that lip. But you're gonna need a socket that's just the right size, and different brands will be slightly different. This one appears that it's just barely smaller than that, so there's still a tiny lip there, which could catch and turn that rubber inside out. So I think I'm gonna go find a Sharpie cap, because the point of the step up was to loosen this up a little so it'll fit over a socket that's the same size as this. But with the Sharpie cap, if you're familiar with a Sharpie, it's tapered, so it goes small and then big, 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 bigger, bigger until it's completely flush with this. So that's why the Sharpie cap is ideal, because it'll, instead of just trying to force it over this, it doesn't want to fit and risk tearing it. The Sharpie cap, it steps up like this, only, you know, much more smoothly. There's not a lump like that, so it'll basically step up your gasket as it goes. That way you don't tear the bitch. So really use a Sharpie cap, but as an improvised method, you may be able to get away with using the socket method. Alright, I ran it over this a couple times just to loosen it up. The paper side is slightly bigger around than the rubber, so the paper goes over pretty easy, see, and then it stops on the rubber, and you see it expand. So I did that a couple times to loosen it up a little bit so I can get it over this socket, which is almost exact. It's just the slightest lip right there. Okay, so the paper doesn't quite fit. There we go. It should be very easy with it. Push the rubber down. There we go. I'm thinking this will be okay. I'm gonna try it. I went in the house, can't find a Sharpie, and I don't want to drive all the way in town for that. And yeah, let's try this. So I'll be the guinea pig here and see if this works, even though this socket is ever so slightly smaller, and there's just a little bit of a lip there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little oil at the end that'll help it slip over that without getting caught. See if that works. Yeah, that wasn't working. This is already kind of tight on this socket, and then when it hit this lip, it just didn't want to go. So I'm gonna try to find a socket that's ever so slightly bigger. Alright, so basically what this comes down to is you need a 1/2 inch. Most tool manufacturers, it's going to be a 1/2 inch, but you need it to be a 6-point, or sorry, 12-point, because some 6-points may not fit over that. So you want a 12-point just to be sure. 6-point might work. This does. So 1/2 inch, 3/8 drive, but it needs to be a long socket so it doesn't bottom out there. That way it can butt up against there. This is ever so slightly bigger than the one I had, which means it's perfect if it was long. I don't have a long one. So if you're going to use a socket, you need a 3/8 drive, 1/2 inch. Should work with a 12-point. 6-point may work. It's got to be long so it'll go over that and butt up against that. And again, that's if you can get this over it without tearing it. Let's see, this is ever so slightly bigger, so let's see if I can. Yeah, I don't know. You really want that step up. I feel like it's going to tear that paper. Yeah. I think it's doable that way. If you use that to loosen it up some, and if you're fortunate enough, I guess, to get it over that without it tearing. But that's pretty tight. I don't know, man. So I'm gonna run to the store and get a fucking Sharpie, and then we're gonna do it the way that everyone does it. If you don't have the damn $100 tool from GM, use a Sharpie cap. Okie dokie then. I swear to God, I thought this looked rather big. I swear that in the other forums and shit, they use a regular Sharpie pen, which is, as it turns out, it's much narrower than this. So even you would have to force a Sharpie pen over this, and then it would leave a lip still. So I don't know if it's different for different years, maybe that's different size than different years, because I swear to God, that's what I seen everyone doing, was just using a regular Sharpie pen. So it's a good thing I took my socket with me, because what I need to use on this, and this is a 94, is one of these fuckers. It tapers out like that. This is what I need. See, they may be just a hair bigger, ever so slightly, but this is pretty bendable plastic, so as it pushes up, it's gonna squish down just a little bit anyways. So this is what I need. It's one of these fucking highlighter markers. So then I gotta drill out the center of the cap. That way I can slide it over this, and then we'll slide our fucking seal up it. So let me get to working on this. Alright. So I just drilled out the center there kinda, and make sure you get all the plastic debris and shit out of there. See if I can. I might still need to drill a little more out. Shit. Yeah. Alright, so basically I just had to drill out the whole center of it so it'd fit. You just want to make sure you keep it nice and straight on there when you're trying to put your seal. Because it wants to pivot a little bit. Alright. There's right on. Or well, I did it backwards, huh? But whatever. There we go. Alright. So I'm gonna put a little oil on the ends and see if we can get that to slide over. Alright, I got just the lightest amount of oil around the edge and on the cap. And you're going to want to use a 3/4 inch socket to gently tap it in once you get it there. See if I can get this bitch on there. Ooh, that's nice. It actually felt like it went. I hope. Two-hand time. I gotta tap that on there. Just take your hammer very lightly. Just had to very slowly tap it in there. Can't show you that. I need two hands. I got about halfway in, and my cap popped off. And you just want to be careful and rock it. Looks like my bottom's sticking out a little farther than the rest. Just try to tap around the edges on the socket to coerce it to go in nice and straight. Just keep going around a little bit. Okay, it's almost in. I just got a little lip right here. I think it still needs to go in just a little bit further. A word of caution, make sure you don't hit your condenser here, pierce it with a hammer or anything. I'm going to try going around the edge now I don't want to hit it real hard, and it's starting to get harder to put in, so be careful and don't tear that paper. Actually, I might get a, I'm not having enough room to swing without hitting this shit, so I think I'll go get a short 3/4 inch socket. That way I got a little more room to swing the hammer and get that hammered in there the rest of the way without fucking it up. Alright, shorter one's not gonna work unless it's a 1/2 inch drive. That way that spline can fit through there because it's bottoming out on that. And if you hit that, you're gonna fuck it up. So if you got bigger than 3/8 drive, you got a 1/2 inch drive, I think it would slide over that and you could use the shorter one. Alright, I got it with the long socket. I just had to bring my hammer all the way back until it lightly touched the condenser and just go forward as quick as I could. A few of those and it went in the rest of the way. It looks like it's good all the way around. Doesn't look like I tore that or anything. So I think we're good.